Gonna break down the spacing concept in this video, talking about a 3x1 and on a 2x2. If this is something you're interested in, then stick around. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the video. I'm Coach Ross with Coach Ross Football here. In this video, like I said, we are going to be breaking down the spacing concept and how it's a great concept that potentially could help your offense here in the upcoming season. But first we get into it, welcome to my channel. If you've never been here before, I'm Coach Ross. Talk about everything and anything spread offense. We're talking blocking schemes, passing concepts, breaking down as much stuff as we can regarding the offense to help you get better with your offense. So if that's something you're interested in, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you like this video or any other content, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Never heard of the spacing concept. I'm going to give you a little bit of background information regarding it. It's not specifically tailored to one specific offense. It can be used in multiple offenses. So it was made famous in the West Coast offense a while back. It's adaptable, like I said, to any style offense because, again, it's meant to take advantage of the space in the zones that are created by the defense. It's great out of a 3x1 formation, and that's what I'm going to mainly focus in this video, but you can also run it out of 2x2, and I'll be touching on that briefly about how you can use that out of a 2x2 set, but mainly kind of focusing in on that 3x1 set to really stress the defense. There are very many different variations to this concept. I'm going to be sticking to the basic concept of it. So it gives a horizontal stretch across the defense, and again, finds the space in the defense where the defenders are not, and for your receivers to settle in that space and take advantage of that underneath coverage. Routes are very easily tagged. You can tag any kind of route you want to this, especially that number 2 receiver, which I'm going to get into. Again, tagging it to take advantage of the space that's created by against what type of defense or what kind of coverage you are going to see. So adding tags to this is very easy. It's not hard. So it's something we're going to talk about here, especially that number 2 receiver in that trip set. It's good against cover 2, cover 3, and cover 4. And I'm going to show you kind of the layouts of the basic spacing concept out of that 3x1 against a cover 2, against a cover 3, even against a cover 4 quarters coverage, and finding that space in the defense where your receivers can settle up in that open window. Receivers need to know that they can adjust the route. That's the big thing about the spacing concept, is that receivers need to be able to adjust their route. They may have to adjust the route to settle up in the space that's more inside of where they normally would be, or to the outside. So they have to be able to adjust the route, and they also need to kind of drift when they hit that route peak to find that open window, to move into that open space, to find those windows for the quarterback. Before we get into the breakdown, I want to give us some additional information regarding the routes that are in this 3x1 set. I want to specifically talk about the number 2 receiver. The number 2 receiver, in my opinion, is the most important position or most important route in this type of concept because it's the most heavily tagged route that you're going to find in this kind of a concept, because you can tag it based off the coverage that you see to stress the defense, especially over the top, to create that space underneath. Essentially is what you want. You want to stress the underneath coverage for your number 1 and number 3 receiver. Number 1 receiver and number 3 receiver in this concept out of a 3x1 set. Now it does change in a 2x2, but in a 3x1 set are going to run the same routes essentially. They are running the same routes unless tagged, and it does not change. Again, they are trying to put major stress on the underneath coverage. Number 1 receiver runs a deeper type of snag route, and he's working off the alley defender to get inside of him by pivoting off that defender where he is not, and the ability to adjust his route to find that window. So again, it's a deeper snag route. Again, he is working off that alley defender and pivoting to where he is not to find that open window. That number 3 receiver essentially is going to be running the same type of snag route. It's a deeper snag route up of around 10 to 12 yards, and he is going to find that open space and adjust his route to find that open window in the middle portion of the defense, underneath the safeties, behind the linebackers. Another version I am going to show you, though, does have the number 1 and number 2 receiver working the same type of snag route, working off that alley defender and having him choose between which space he's going to take advantage of, and then those receivers settling up in that space where he is not. And that number 3 receiver is then going to work that arrow route and work into the flats, trying to stress the defense horizontally and seeing if that corner bites in the flats. Then you have the open space where you are taking advantage of one defender underneath to hit that open space, or if that defender or that corner decides to chase that number 1 receiver on that spacing route, then you had the flats open where you can hit that arrow route to the number 3 receiver. Now, with regards to the backside, it's up to you what you want to do. A lot of times you will see a one-on-one coverage. So a lot of times what you can do is you can give that receiver choice route. You can give that receiver either the hitch or the vertical, the hitch and the post. It really doesn't matter. The slant, automatic slant, if that's what you like on the backside, it really doesn't matter. But the quarterback should pre-snap that, because if it's available, the quarterback has the authority, or should have the authority, to take that throw, catch, turn, and throw right away to take those free, easy yards. Also, with regards to the running back, if you like to have the running back stay in his pass protection, that's fine too, because especially a lot of times in a 3-by-1 set, you will have that linebacker coming off the edge, off the backside as well. So staying in for pass protection is a good idea, because this is not necessarily a quick game concept. It's a drop back, so it does take a little bit more time for it to develop. And so that extra little protection does help. If not, and you want to have that running back stress the defense a little bit more to the backside and run 2 receivers in an area where there's only technically 1 defender, if that linebacker's coming off that edge, then you can have him on a swing or a shoot route. Getting into the breakdown here, I'm going to show you a couple different basic variations of this concept, that 3-by-1 set here. And I put boxes up here, as you can see, to represent the windows that you really want to try and take advantage of in this type of set, in this type of concept. So I'm going to cover the backside here first. So simple route here. Again, we have the gift route. You could have, if that defender's off, you could have that defender run a hitch. You could have that defender run a slant into that open window. If need be, you could have that receiver run the fade out to the deep 4th over here, depending on what the coverage is. But again, if you have that gift route, quarterback should have the authority to catch, turn, and fire this ball in here immediately if that space is available. So on the concept side of this pass play here, we're going to be talking about these 3 main windows here. There is technically a 4th that you could potentially put out here, but we are going to talk about, again, when I talked about earlier in the video, talking about this number 2 receiver here, if you want to run this variation of it, is a route that's very, very important in this concept, to where you're going to have this route tagged heavily. So you could have it on a straight up vertical, just to stress this safety, to pull this safety down the field. You could also have, if this corner, you could high-low this corner. If this corner sits in more of a cover 2 and is watching the flats, and you see that, you then could also tag it to a corner to take advantage of the space here as well. Also, if this safety is playing a little bit further wide, you can have it coming on a post. So those right there are a couple options you can do with this. Then the X receiver in this case is going to run his deeper snag. So he's going to come in here and he's going to park up into this open space right here, into this window. Again, we are trying to play the game with this defender right here. H receiver is going to run a deep snag too, working off his inside shoulder, and he's going to park up into this open window, adjusting his route need be based on what this Mike linebacker is doing. If this defender here is more likely coming off the edge as an extra blitzer or an extra rush, then more than likely this Mike linebacker is going to be responsible for the running back. So if this running back gets sent out on a swing, then this defender potentially is going to go and follow. So that opens up that window right there as well. So that is one version that you can run with the spacing concept. Again, trying to take advantage of these 2 windows where this alley defender is not. Really appreciate you watching the video. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Now let's get back to the video. Here's the other variation you could run with this. This is the other basic variation that I've researched and I've looked over. And that is, you have H now running an arrow route, running into the flats, trying to converge into this open window here if it's there. Again, stretching the defense horizontally, making this corner make a decision. Does he follow in with the X receiver who's going to run his same snag route? He's going to post up into this open window here, again adjusting his route need be. Now you have Z doing the same thing. He's working a snag route, but he's going a little bit more harder of an angle, and he's trying to post up into this open window as well. Again, what does this defender do? So if this corner chases, then that flats is open. If this defender chases as well, this open window right here is open as well. So there are windows that the quarterback is going to look at, and these receivers do have to, again, adjust their routes accordingly to find that space. It's not going to be in the same spot automatically, depending on what these defenders do and what their responsibilities are. This may change, and this window may be a little bit more further this way, and he has to adjust his route, and he has to drift over into that open window to try and get in behind these defenders. Again, we are trying to stress the underneath coverage of this defense. So taking advantage of these windows behind the linebackers or in the flats, depending on what this corner does, is very, very key for this concept to be successful. I'll show you very quickly what you can do out of a 2x2 set with this. You would still have your H running that snag, working that inside shoulder here, and settling up in this window here in between these linebackers in front of the safeties. X, same thing. He's going to run his deeper snag route and settle up again, trying to split this defender here. Now the running back is responsible for the flats. And again, we really are stressing this defender and this defender. Does the corner either do one of two things? Does he bail back into almost a cover 3 or cover 4? Does he decide to adjust and move more inside to follow along with this X receiver? If he does, then the flats are open, especially if this linebacker right here is responsible for the running back. Then it's very, very challenging for that linebacker to get out here and cover this flats. If this corner stays, then you have that open window here, especially if this linebacker decides to chase the running back into the flats. That does create a larger window for both receivers here to work their space, and the quarterback very, very easily can find either one based on where this linebacker is not. One version here, we are going to have this receiver. He's going to run his tagged route where he is going to run a corner essentially here. We have our deep snag, trying to find the space in between this defender here, locating the space. This defender here drops in, but then realizes that he needs to cover in with this receiver here and take the space. But by that point, it's too late, and this space is open. This defender here is watching and kind of goes with this receiver, the inside receiver, the number 3 receiver here as well. So you will see how the space is open in this portion of the field. Again, trying to take advantage of that underneath space for these little snag routes to settle up in those open windows. One thing I also want to mention too is, which I'm going to show you here, is this open space as well, depending on what that corner does, which allows for that other variation that I talked about here. And this is that other version I was talking about, where now we have number 1 and number 2 receivers. They are running their deep snag routes, settling up into these open little windows here. Now our number 3 receiver, he is now running that arrow or that flat route. So what does this defender do? If that defender chases, then you have that snag window open right here. Also right here as well, depending on what this corner does. But a lot of times what this defender does will determine where this ball is going. So if this defender stays deep into his coverage, then the flats is open. If he decides to chase with the flats, then this receiver, the number 2 receiver, is now vacating, or not vacating, but is now occupying the space that the defender is vacating, and is going to take advantage of that space and get the ball. And you can see that's what happens here, because this defender is now going to chase the flat route, and it creates that open window right behind where he was. Thank you for sticking around for the entire video. Hope you liked it. If you did, leave a like. Also, if you want to see a great mesh variation in the red zone, check out this video right here.